Why would that woman that you want so badly be attracted to you? Why would she fall in love with you? Why would she want to throw her life together with yours? And I think I can help you answer that question. Not only for yourself, I think I can help you answer that question for her as well. You're about to get some important insights that are going to help you have dramatically better interactions, specifically with the women that you're most interested in. If you stick with me to the end, I promise it really comes together in a way that's going to give you a lot more confidence and much more success with women, both in that game of initial attraction where you first see her, but also in the long-term creation of a meaningful, loving relationship where she wants to be your loyal girlfriend over the long term. She's attractive. She's got choices, right? There's a lot of other men that she could choose. And you might be thinking, if I were her, I wouldn't choose me or not. There's like a lot of good dudes out there. What have I got that they don't got, right? And if you're honest with yourself, at the bottom of this, you probably wonder, why would anyone choose you? And the reason that I think if you're honest with yourself, you're going to be asking that question is because everybody asks that question. It literally comes up in every coaching session eventually with both men and women. At the bottom of it, if I do enough work with someone, eventually, even if they didn't come to me for that, they came to me for a totally different issue, eventually everyone gets to this thing where they're like, why would anybody love me? And they always get to this other thing, which is, I have proof. I have proof that people wouldn't find me lovable, they wouldn't be attracted to me. I have proof. And we all have proof because there's a certain kind of lie out there. I think it's the most dangerous kind of lie. It's the lie that's sometimes true. And if you watch any political news, you know that politicians are the masters of this kind of lie that's sometimes true. They give you that unique case where it's true, and then they generalize it out and say that it's always true. And so what happens is we all have an episode somewhere in our lives, somewhere in our history where, somebody rejected us, or, we tried to approach a group of women and they laughed at us, or something happened, or somebody who we thought loved us turned around and rejected us and broke our hearts. We all have something like this in our history, and we look at that as proof that nobody would want to be with us. So this thing, it's not just you, and it's not just every man, it's also every woman. This is a common wound for all humans. And the reason is we all know too much about ourselves. We all know too much about ourselves. We know all the crappy things about ourselves, all those things you don't tell anybody else, all those secrets, all that stuff you're ashamed of, you know about it. And you know that if other people knew about it, they wouldn't like you at all. So this is the way all humans feel. This is a common wound for all humans. The poet Rumi once said, the wound is where the light gets in. And that's a beautiful way of framing this. And in this case, I'm going to show you how that can be true. And I promise, this is not going to be a bunch of self-help BS about saying affirmations in the mirror and going, darn it, I'm likable. It's not any of that. I promise. This is really deeper stuff. And if you follow along, I'm going to take this in 4 parts. If you follow along, I'm telling you, it's going to make you way more confident in your interactions with the women that you're most attracted to. Okay, let's start with part 1. You have no idea what women find attractive and want to fall in love with. And there's reason that I know this is because all women are different and you're not going to guess right. There's something that she's going to be into. And, for most men, just because we're insecure, we're like, handsome, rich. And sure, those are great qualities, but those are not the qualities that women primarily sort for. They're nice to haves, but they're not essential. We all think women want a guy like James Bond, who's super cool. Most women are not into like a guy who's an alcoholic womanizer that kills people for a living. That's not even close to what women want. And yet, I can remember my early days of being single when I was like trying to channel James Bond and sit there and, swirl my martini and try and act cool. And honestly, it's cringy. It's cringy how creepy and weird I was back then. And it didn't work, of course. Now, just to give you the opposite example, women think that like Carrie Bradshaw is the thing. Like they all try and act like that. And you know what she does is she sits around with her friends drinking Cosmopolitans, and then they see some cute guy in the corner, like, oh, he's so dreamy. Oh my God, he's coming over here. Oh, and then he walks over and they all shoot him down. They shoot him down. And they think that that's what men want. And of course, men don't want that. That kind of hurts our feelings. But it always works out for Carrie. It always works out in the end. She shoots them down, but then they're persistent. And then somehow she ends up falling in love with them. So all women are different. All men are different. And that's why the trying to figure out who she needs me to be in order to like me, that faking game is always a dead end. This is hard. But not faking, refusing to fake, even when you're dying for her, even when you feel at your most insecure, okay, to not fake, it's hard. It takes a ton of courage, but it's the one thing that you can do that's universally attractive. In other words, there's all these things you're trying to do. If you drop all that and you do the courage of actually not trying to put on some impress her thing, that is universally attractive. Okay, next step. Because we're all wired with this wound of believing that we're not lovable and not attractive to the person who we want most, we start acting out on that. We act out on that insecurity, and usually by, trying to fake it or trying to be puff up and be cooler than we are, and other sabotaging behaviors. And this destroys things for us. Now, of course, I want to be clear, you might really truly not be her type. And maybe you really never did have a chance. That's always possible. There are women who only go for guys in suits and you're a long-haired hippie guitar player. And of course, there are women who only go for long-haired hippie guitar players and you're a guy in a suit. Like, of course, you really truly might not be her type. You might truly have never had a chance with her, but you will never know. You will never know. You will never find out because you've sabotaged it. She's repelled not by who you really are. She's repelled by your feeling of unworthiness. The feeling that you're not worthy of her attention. That's what she's repelled by. Third step now, because everyone has this wound, nobody actually wants somebody who's perfect, right? We want somebody who's just messed up enough that they don't trigger our insecurities. We want somebody who we feel like, wow, I'm really into them, and I feel like I could get them. So this is a bit of a superpower, right? If you can be authentic and courageously vulnerable with somebody, the information about yourself that is less than flattering, like, wow, when I'm with you, I feel kind of shy and awkward, like for you to say something like that out loud and not in a way that's needy and, oh, will you like me anyway? But just being direct and courageously vulnerable about what's true about you, that can actually be the hinge of actually attractive communication. It can make you come across as more powerful and more confident and more attractive because you're doing the courage that it takes to actually be yourself. And if you can get this, it can be an incredible game changer. And it can make you absolutely magnetic in situations where you meet or on a first date, or even to take your current relationship to much deeper levels of attraction and intimacy. Now you gotta understand, this is not intellectual. This is an animal and emotional level of attraction. And this is speaking animal to animal. And this is the most powerful form of attraction. And second, and here's where it gets really big, we go back to this piece from Rumi, where the wound is where the light gets in. If you recognize that you've got this wound, that you don't feel like you're good enough for that person who you are really into, and you recognize that she has that wound too, and that everybody has it, you get this kind of meta superpower where knowing it and being able to communicate from that place gives you more confidence and more ease because she's feeling it too. And you can have a lighthearted humor, an ease around this thing that you can't shut it up. The self-critical voice is in everybody. You can't shut up your self-critical voice. It's going to be saying, why would she be into you? Why would she be into me? Why would she be into me? And while it's saying that, you can go, yeah, everybody feels that way. And you can just relax and let it drop and recognize she probably feels that way too. And talk to that part of her to be able to really speak to that part of her that also doesn't feel worthy. He's only coming up to me because of my pretty face, but once he talks to me, he's going to realize that I'm not that lovable. Everybody's got this. And when you can notice that everybody's got it, it's like being in the Matrix, right? Where you really see what's actually going on. Where this shows up for men, literally every man that I've worked with, is that we end up with these blind spots that are these hidden what I call attraction blockers. And they sabotage not only your ability to attract the kind of woman that you really want, but they also sabotage the relationships and the marriages, even years later, by eroding attraction because of these attraction blockers. And this attraction blocker problem is much harder for me to lay out for you inside of a YouTube video because it's quite different for different men. And I have to go down a lot of different paths to really articulate this. There's 3 principal attraction blockers that I find most of the men that I coach struggle with. And so what I've done is I actually made a free assessment that you can go and click the button and take this assessment, and it'll tell you which of these 3 hidden attraction blockers is your attraction blocker. And this allows you to actually take effective action on this final and maybe most crucial thing. So I hope you'll go over and check out that free assessment, because this can make a huge difference when you see what's actually causing you to do things that are blocking her attraction from you that you're totally unaware of. It's a game changer. And I guarantee you that going through this assessment is going to give you powerful new insights into the way that you interact with your woman, and it's going to give you real leverage for turning things around in a positive direction. And the free report that you're going to receive is full of actionable steps that can turn things around, indeed have turned things around for thousands of men already. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the other side of the click.